Hey guys, today we'll be talking about the Analects of Confucius 6.3. And without further ado, let's get started. 6.3. Duke I asked, "Who among your disciples love learning?" Confucius responded, saying, "There was Yan Hui who loved learning. He did not transfer his anger elsewhere, and he did not repeat a mistake. But unfortunately, he had a short life and is dead now. Since his death, there is no one left who loves learning. At least I haven't heard of anyone." Okay, so there's two people, one of which we haven't really talked about, but we've definitely seen him before, and that is Duke Ai. And he was one of the dukes of the state of Lu. And he was essentially asking Confucius, who among your disciples love learning? Mostly because he wanted to find out who could be potentially useful for him as a government official. And then there's Yan Hui, who was Confucius's favorite disciple, but unfortunately he died prematurely. But yes, he was considered a gentleman, and Confucius himself, being humble, said that he even himself, he could never match Yan Hui's love of learning. And here Confucius does say that Yan Hui loved learning, but what does this love of learning, what does this mean? So this isn't just learning absolutely anything. Someone who loves learning is someone who could adapt very well because they can learn new things very quickly, and so they will never run out of things to learn, never run out of things to do. And we'll get more into this, but essentially it's also learning is just bettering yourself. So someone who loves learning is someone who wants to improve their character, their inner self. And Confucius says that Yan Hui, who did love learning, had two main characteristics, or at least the characteristics that Confucius chooses to talk about here. And the first one is he did not transfer his anger elsewhere. So notice that Confucius doesn't say that Yan Hui doesn't have any anger at all. In fact, having anger is actually a natural thing, and it should be, well, it's necessary. So the thing is, if something makes you angry, then you should be angry. But if there's something that doesn't make you angry, then you shouldn't be angry about it. Or if the thing that made you angry in the first place is now gone, then you shouldn't still be angry. You shouldn't still be thinking about it, and you shouldn't hold a grudge, which we did talk about earlier. And this is just saying that Yan Hui didn't transfer his anger onto other people. Like, if he's in a bad mood, then he won't just be angry at some other person, even though it's his own problem. And this kind of thing isn't just, it's not at all, "Oh, I'm angry at you, but I'm not going to say anything," or "I'm angry at you, but I shouldn't be angry, so I'm not going to be angry." So if you're angry, then just be angry. And if you have a good reason to, then you definitely should. For example, if someone hits you on your cheek, you shouldn't just turn and wait for the other person to hit your other cheek too, which is a famous saying in the Bible. But you shouldn't. Well, if we look at this in a way, like, for example, someone is harming your family, you can't just go, "Oh, it's fine, I'll forgive them." It's fine because the Bible says if someone hits you on your cheek, then you should also turn so they can hit your other cheek too. You shouldn't just let someone bully you that way. And you shouldn't just, well, in lack of better words, not really stand up for injustice. If someone is harming someone, like your family or your town or even yourself, then you shouldn't just wait for that person to go away or wait for everyone to die. You should definitely be angry at that person, and you definitely shouldn't, your first instinct shouldn't be, oh, it's okay, I'll just forgive them. But the main thing here is that if the thing that's making you angry has been gone for a very long time, then you shouldn't hold a grudge about it. You shouldn't just hang on to it and have it bother you for forever. By saying this, Confucius is saying that Yan Hui can control his emotions, especially his anger, which is arguably the most aggressive and strongest emotion that someone can have. And another one that Confucius notes about Yan Hui is, and he did not repeat a mistake. So going back to learning, true learning is about improving your character, your inner self, your personality, and it's essentially this kind of changing yourself and being better than you were before and kind of fixing yourself. And this fixing, that just means what Confucius said. It can just learning from your mistakes. And yes, the word learning is literally in learning from your mistakes. So if someone is making the same mistake over and over, then they're not learning. So yeah, essentially learning is this lifelong journey of just growth of your inner self and your character, your heart, your personality. And yeah, just learning how to become a better person. And since Yan Hui loved learning, he committed to just learning for this growing experience, this learning for knowledge's sake. And Confucius does say, since his death there's no one left who loves learning, at least I haven't heard of anyone. But of course Confucius had a lot of disciples, and they all learned from him, but they didn't really love learning the same way that Yan Hui did. They learned for some kind of purpose, like they wanted a recommendation letter from Confucius, or they just wanted to become a government official through learning about Confucius's virtues. But they just didn't want to learn for solely the purpose of improving themselves, which is what Yan Hui did. And the last thing that I'll note is that Confucius might have again, I've said this many times, but Confucius likes to specially curate his responses for certain people. And I think there is a possibility that he was just responding to Duke Ai, but since this was they were in such a rough time period, he could easily get executed for trying to criticize the Duke, even if it's constructive criticism. So Confucius maybe was indirectly trying to tell Duke Ai or teach him that maybe you shouldn't hold grudges against people, and maybe you should also learn from your mistakes. And he's doing this indirectly in the hopes of Duke Ai going, oh, actually, I think I might have this problem or that problem. So Confucius was talking about Yanhui, but at the same time, he was also indirectly kind of teaching Duke Ai this lesson as well, because of course there is no way that Yanhui was only known for these two things. And yeah, that'll be all today, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!